Hello everyone, Silent here and welcome back to another Bedrock Edition tutorial. Today I am happy to share with you a brand new type of iron farm for the Bedrock Edition of Minecraft. This is not your standard type of iron farm. This one allows you to stack it, and in today's tutorial I'll be showing you how to build a quad stacked iron farm that produces 1400 iron per hour on average. It's an insane amount of iron. It will fuel any project that you are working on, all of the beacon bases that you ever need, massive storage system, or rail line to the far lands. Whatever you want to do, 1400 iron an hour should be enough for your project. So this iron farm is actually extremely easy to build as well, with a very simple modular system, and the villagers are very easy as well. There's no quirkiness or issues or bugs or anything weird, nothing tedious with this design. It's all extremely easy and rather quick to throw together, so I think you'll greatly enjoy it. So let's go over the basics of these iron farms, shall we? So this is essentially 4 iron farms in one that you see on screen right now, and this is what I'll be showing you how to build in today's tutorial. As you can see, it's not actually that complicated. It is one little slice, just rotated 4 times for 4 total farms. So each one of these farms will produce on average 350 iron per hour, meaning that from all 4 of these, we get 1,400 iron per hour. So that is basically all there is to it. If we come down into this area, we have the item collection, and this thing has been cranking away, producing all of the iron. If we break down that quad iron farm over there into its individual pieces, you'll see that we get this singular iron farm, and it's got an unconventional shape with these cut corners, as you can see. That allows us to get 4 into the center area without the villagers or the iron golems overlapping, causing a bunch of issues. But as you can see, it's a pretty standard design without the shape being taken into account. So we got the villagers, the killing area up above, 1 spawning platform, the beds are going to go right there. That is the second killing area and the second spawning platform, and then of course the item collection down here at the bottom. This is basically exactly as large as you can make the farm without there being a ton of issues with village merging and all of that craziness. So this is basically going to give you the maximum rates per iron farm when it comes to stacking these things and having 4 or even 12 of these in the same area. Now that you know the basics about these iron farms, what about the man, the myth, the legend who created them? Pico Nico is the mastermind behind figuring out how to build, create, and test these iron farms and figuring out exactly how to stack them. He's been putting an unimaginable amount of time into creating this quad stacked version and a 12 stacked version, along with appropriate raid farms and just all kinds of crazy nonsense. I'm just the derp that's here to show you how to build this thing and describe it to you and give you all the details about it. He's the man that's actually done all the hard work. So thank you very much to Pico Nico for designing this thing and allowing me to share it with all of you guys of the community. Hopefully you guys greatly enjoy this and can build this very quickly in your Bedrock Edition worlds. If you like the sound of this quad stacked iron farm, then you're going to love the fact that there is a 12 stacked version of this from Pico Nico, which is absolute insanity, producing 4,200 iron per hour. If there's enough interest and support on today's video, then I will be prioritizing the release of the 12 stacked tutorial. So make sure to leave a like, show some love for Pico Nico down in the comments, of course, and subscribe. That way you don't miss the 12 stack tutorial whenever it releases. So why should you bother building a quad stacked iron farm? Well, obviously you're gonna have 4 iron farms in a very, very small area. All 4 of these are within a 3 chunk by 3 chunk area, or 48 by 48. All 4 of these farms are exactly identical, so it's very easy to build one after another in quick succession. All of these are very close together, obviously, for easy item, centralization right there in the middle, and all of the villagers are going to be very easy to transport to one central area as well. Overall, these farms are designed for ease of use and ease of building. They're also designed for maximum rates, which is why a few design decisions may appear to be quirky on the surface, but once you delve into the mechanics, everything is optimized for maximum rates, not only for a quad stacked design, but for a 12 stacked design as well. Furthermore, these iron farms also produce string because we are killing the cats on these campfires. So you might be wondering, what are the cons to building a quad stacked stacked iron farm, and as of 1.16.4, there aren't really any. The farms themselves are very easy to build. The stacking method that we're using is also a very simple one and doesn't rely on any obvious or visible bugs. However, due to the nature of this kind of technology, there is no guarantees that it will work forever. A future update like 1.17 very likely will break these designs. So what you should do is build these farms right now, get all the iron, reap the rewards, and profit. And let's hop into the tutorial, shall we? For those of you who are interested, there's a world download and a materials list down in the description of the video, which could be very helpful for you building up this farm, troubleshooting it, and seeing exactly what you need and how to build it where. There's also going to be two main parts to today's tutorial. The first part is going to be building up the actual structure of the iron farms, and the second part is going to be getting the villagers into the iron farms and stacking the villages. The first step is extremely important. You need to choose a good location that is hundreds and hundreds of blocks away from any villagers, villages, beds, bells, or workstations. If your farm is anywhere close to any of that stuff, it can completely break the linking and the stacking of your iron farms, so play it safe, go at least 300 blocks away from any villager related items, because these things can seriously break your farms. The next step is also very important. You need to mark out your build area. As you can see before you here, we have this nice diamond shape of checkerboarded chunks. Each one of these squares is 16 by 16, exactly one chunk of the Minecraft world, and this entire platform is the 4-chunk simulation distance. When standing in the middle here, these are the only chunks in your world that will be loaded. You don't need to mark out this entire thing, although it's probably a good idea to at least mark out the borders of your simulation distance, but at the very minimum, you need to mark out these center 3x3 of chunks, this 48 by 48 area. That way you know exactly where all 4 of your iron farms are going to be going and how to chunk align them and make everything centered. So go ahead and mark out your 3x3 center chunks. So now that we know that this is going to be our central AFK chunk, we know we need to build an iron farm in that chunk, that one, and that one as well. We're going to start in any arbitrary direction, just this one right here, and go up off the ground by 3 blocks. We then need to fill in this entire chunk going all the way across with solid blocks, which we can do very quickly like so. That is going to be the base platform of the lowest spawning platform, but of course we need to expand this a little bit. Expanding this is incredibly easy. Go to one of the corners and then you simply want to go in diagonally by 2 blocks. We're going to extend that across to the other side, where we also want to bring this in by 2 blocks like so. Then go off to the sides of this and you need to go off and extend this by 4 blocks, basically just giving it this nice diagonal edge. We're going to bring this all the way towards the back side and expand it 1 past the back side of the platform. Bring this all the way across, and then we're going to do the same thing on this side as well. So just expand this diagonally by 4 blocks, like so. Extend this back to the back area, connect it up, and now all you need to do is fill in that little zone there, and there with your solid blocks. Now we need to put a lip of solid blocks going all the way around the edge of this platform, just 1 block up and out diagonally, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Once you have a lip going all the way around this entire thing, go ahead and cover that in a layer of glass blocks as well. Now we need to go below the farm and figure out what the center of this chunk is, so go to any of the corners and go in by 8 blocks, so that is 8 blocks right there, and then this little 2x2 is going to be the actual center of the chunk. That should be equidistant from all of the corners and edges, of course, so just go ahead and mark out the 2x2 right here in the center of that platform, and that should of course be lined up right there. We're going to go ahead and put some marker blocks, and that is going to be the very center of our chunk. This is where our killing chamber and item collection will be later on in the farm. So now that we have that done, we need to go ahead and build this exact platform 4 blocks above. So we need to have a 4 block gap, and then the floor of the next platform is going to be on the 5th block. And there we go. We now have our second platform in place, and now we need to mine out a little hole in the center of this platform so that the villagers can later on have access to the beds, and so that we can place the beds easier. So towards the front of the farm, which is of course this wedge shape right here, we need to mine out 2 blocks, and then we need to mine out 3 blocks towards the back, and 5 blocks to the left and to the right as well. So that is the general shape that we need. Go ahead and expand this hole entirely. Small mistake on my part, you actually want to mine this hole out going 3 blocks towards the front, so all you need to do is just remove this extra line of blocks right here. Let's quickly go ahead and install some item collection. So starting at the front of the farm, we're going to go underneath it until we're at the little 2x2 marker for the center of the chunk. Break the 2 blocks towards the front of the farm, and now we're just going to go ahead and place a double chest right underneath that cutout with 2 hoppers going directly down in it and 2 campfires on top of that. Surround the campfires in some blocks of your choice. I'm going to use glass because it's nice. And now we need to go onto the first platform. Put 2 signs right on those 2 marker blocks for the center of your chunk, and 2 signs above that as well, and that'll stop the smoke from happening. And now we need to place in the platform that the beds are going to be placed on top of. So the beds are going to be going right here at this layer, so our little temporary platform, it needs to be here at this layer. So we need to go 2 blocks towards the front of the 2x2 marker, and then 1 block to the back of it, and then of course 4 blocks to the sides as well. And basically just go ahead and fill in this entire thing. The shape of this platform will make a lot more sense once we actually go to get the beds in here and get all the villagers in here. But for now, you want to build up this general little shape right here. So basically a square or a rectangle, but with 1 extra block on either edge. While we're here, also go ahead and put in a marker block right in this location. So basically just from the 2x2, you want to go off of this lower right block towards the front of the farm, and then have a marker block right there. That is going to be the furthest bed location, and that is very important for getting the villages to stack correctly. And the next thing that we need to do is build the villager containment pod. So go right above your center 2x2 marking area, build up by 3 blocks, and then on the 4th block we're going to build a little 5 long stretch of blocks. This should be lined up directly with your platform below, and it should also be lined up with that little marker block that you have right there. So pretty straightforward. We're going to go ahead and put a 3 block tall glass wall going all the way around this entire build. This is going to contain all the villagers, the workstations, the water, and the trapdoors for keeping them in place as well. So there is the walls in place. Now you want to go ahead and fill in the water sources, and go ahead and place in 3 trapdoors in all of these spots, just like so. Flick all of them to be vertical, and this is how we're going to separate the villagers from one another. And that is our villager containment pod complete. And that concludes part 1 of today's tutorial, showing you how to build the very basic structure of the first iron farm. You now need to replicate this entire thing 3 more times, and this chunk, and this chunk over here for a total of 4 farms. They're gonna share a wall on this side, and basically they're just gonna go right next to each other. So rewatch the tutorial, rebuild these things until you have 4 of them, and then we can move on to getting all of the villagers in place. And here we go. As you can see, we now have 4 of the basic structures in place. We have the red, green, orange, and yellow farms. You can color code them if you want, although it is not necessary, just mildly convenient when it comes to messing with the villagers. As you can see, I built 2 of the farms out of quartz instead of stone. That way we can just kind of see where one farm begins and the next one ends. And of course, these things all share a wall together, so it's pretty straightforward. Everything is exactly how I showed you in the first part of the tutorial, just basically rotated 90 degrees. So now it's time for the fun part, getting the villagers in here, activating the iron farms, and actually stacking these things. The first thing that we need to do for stacking our villages is make some very basic walkways going about 7 chunks outwards from the center of our farms. So the basics of what we're going to be doing is building just a 1 wide floating pathway going about 7 chunks off in that direction. It's going to be lined up with this thing, and it's going to be very helpful for you to have your chunk border resource pack on. So we're going to go ahead and expand a walkway going across this entire chunk right here into the 2nd chunk. And then once you hit the 3rd chunk, we're going to go ahead and just place in a little T shape right here at the middle. This is very important that you place this in. Now we need to go across this entire chunk. So that's 1 chunk again, and then into the 2nd chunk, into the 3rd one. And then finally, once you reach the 4th chunk, just go about to the middle of here and build yourself a little platform. So the basics of why we need this bridge is because we're going to be creating our original village out here and then slowly moving it towards this little shape right here. We're going to be leaving the center of the village right there and building up the entire village inside of the actual farm. That way we can easily stack them without them canoodling with one another and destroying the entire process. So that is the basics. You want to go ahead and build up one of these walkways for every farm. It's very important for your walkway to be at the same level as the glass. If it's even a single block higher, like how this walkway is, it will not work. So you got to make sure it's at the same exact layer as this glass. The next thing that you want to do is prep this bridge to get the villagers into these cells for you. We're going to be making the villagers automatically pathfind into their cells for us. That way we don't need any mine carts or anything like that. So just go ahead and make yourself a little bridge of solid blocks going up and put some stairs on that, of course. Make sure it's connected to your bridge, and then once you get to the top here, go ahead and run some solid blocks all the way across your trapdoors and get a little guardrail going as well. This will of course help your villagers stay in place. Honestly, if you want to play things safe, I'd recommend just putting a guardrail across basically this entire thing. They're pretty good at staying on there, but depending on the terrain around here, they might fall off and that can be a giant pain. Either way, once you get to the back end right here, what you want to do is build just a little janky staircase going down to the bed area. This will actually help the villagers pathfind to the beds, help them keep interest with, actually getting to them, and help you create a village and all that good stuff. So literally just place a staircase going like that. They're never actually going to use that staircase, but it will help them with their pathfinding, and it'll help them go into their cells. And now we are ready to actually start messing with the villagers, creating villages and stacking villages as well. This is where the fun begins. It's honestly not that complicated once you understand how it works. I'll be trying to explain it to the best of my abilities for your faces. So the first thing that you want, of course, is a villager breeder. That should be definitely like a 200 to 300 blocks away. Send your baby villagers to the nether, allow them to grow up into adults, and then in the nether, minecart them around to another portal, and then send them through onto your little platform right here. We need 3 villagers to start with and 3 beds. This is going to be the beginning village of our entire setup. The first thing that we're going to do is place down a bell, and then that's going to link to everyone. You can basically ignore those green particles. All we care about are the storm cloud particles, those ones right there. Whoever gets these storm cloud particles is going to be the leader of the village, and the pillow of their bed is going to be the center of the village. Simple enough, right? Oh, also, when you're doing this, you want it to be nighttime. That way all the villagers sleep in their beds, they pathfind very easily. So I would recommend starting this entire process and getting your villagers to the overworld right as the sun goes down. Once we got our 3 villagers in place and we know which one is the leader, we can break our nether portal so that we don't have any issues with that thing. And we can start placing new beds about 10 to 15 blocks away and breaking the beds of whoever is not the leader. So as soon as we break his bed, he should get new particles and go sleep in that one. We can then place another bed, break his one, wait for him to get particles, and then place another bed for the leader as well. And then slowly but surely, we're just going to be walking all 3 of these guys towards the plus sign over there, and that's where we're going to keep the leader of the village. So now we can place in a new bed for this guy, wait for him to get the green particles, place in a new bed for this guy, break his, wait for him to get the green particles, and then place in yet another bed for the leader of the village, and slowly but surely just walk these guys about 10 to 15 blocks at a time. So now we got all 3 of our villagers right around the plus sign, and we're going to triple check that this guy is still the leader of the village. So place down a bell, and whoever gets the storm clouds is still the leader. So this guy right here is the leader. We want his pillow to be right here on this crossbar. As you can see, that is a chunk border right here. We want the pillow to be on the other side of the chunk border furthest away from the iron farm. That is incredibly important. So let's just move that guy in right now. And perfect, he's linked to that bed. He'll go sleep in it. So now we need to move in these two villagers right to the base of the staircase over here. We need to go ahead and move this guy to the furthest bed. Now, this marker block right here, you'll remember from the earlier parts of this tutorial, is the furthest bed in the village, surprisingly. So we're going to go ahead and place down a bed right there. Make sure your entire staircase is intact going down to this lower area. Make sure this staircase is intact. And you want to remove one of the blocks right above the first set of trapdoors right here. That way the villager falls right into the cell. So now we're going to go ahead and break this guy's bed. He should link to that bed down there, and he does. He's got the green particles, and eventually he's just going to go ahead and pathfind right into the containment cell like a cell. Absolutely beautiful, as you can see. Now, because he's standing in water, he's never going to unlink from that bed, which is beautiful. Now we need to go ahead and give all three of these villagers a workstation. That way we can minimize linking issues later. So if you place down a workstation, this should go to whichever villager randomly. It's going to go all the way to the leader of the village. Perfect. We'll just give him that one. That's going to go to him. We will place down another workstation. That's going to go to one of these two guys. It goes to this guy down here. Great, let's just put that by his bed. And then the third one is going to go to this guy right here. And we're going to put that right inside of the glass wall. And now it's time to get even more villagers into our village. And how we're going to do this is by using yet another nether portal and bringing the villagers from the nether. So you want to build this portal right in between this villager and that villager right there. That way, all the villagers that come through here are guaranteed a part of this village. Will claim workstations, beds, and all of that good stuff. Whenever you send through a new batch of villagers, you need to place down the bell again and make sure that none of these guys become the leader of the village. For example, if this guy right here gets the storm cloud particles from breaking the bell, then you need to kill him. That guy over there must remain the leader of the village for everything to work correctly. So every time you bring in a new villager, just test them with the bell. Make sure they don't steal it from that guy. So now that we have a new batch of 3 villagers, we can go ahead and allow them to walk up the staircase into the first cell. And now we're going to start placing down more beds. So each side of this should have 8 beds in total, just like so. And we're just going to basically spam them down. And then we need 2 beds on this side, leaving a 2-block hole right underneath our chunk center marker blocks, and then 2 beds on that side for a total of 20 beds. These 3 villagers over here should be linking to the beds and basically pathfinding right up these stairs right into this chamber. Once you have 4 villagers in here, simply go ahead and flick down that trapdoor. All of those guys will stay put in there, and now we can start linking them to their workstations. So there goes 1 workstation, and then we need the second one over here for that guy, and then the third one right there as well. And that is 4 workstations and 4 villagers in that cell. Now we can move on to doing the next cell and the ones after that as well. So basically just rinse and repeat this entire process until you fill up all of these cells. And just a few minutes later, all of these cells are filled up with 4 villagers, except the very last one. This one only has 3 villagers at the moment, and that is because we can simply repurpose this guy right here and put him into the cell as well. So once you have the last cell with 3 villagers in it, go ahead and break his bed, and then he'll link to one of the beds down there and simply walk into the cell on his own. As you'll see, he just walks straight in there. It's so convenient to use these guys' own pathfinding against them. Now that there's 4 in there, flip down the trapdoor. We can go ahead and break his workstation over here and move that to this location and the wall. He links up to that thing, and we are now done getting all of the villagers into our iron farm. From here on out, all you need to do is clean up this mess that we've created. So use some pistons to push glass right above the villagers, just like so. You can go ahead and remove all of these trapdoors, and then simply go ahead and put glass right above the workstations on this side and this side as well. Now you can go ahead and remove the staircase that you built going down to the beds because it's not necessary anymore. Remove all the guardrails, and you can basically remove the entirety of this bridge going out there as well. I would highly recommend that you build up a little enclosure around the leader of the village. That way he doesn't fall off this platform or get killed or anything like that, because he will eventually wake up when it becomes daytime. Make sure you also place the bell for this village right here above the center of this 2x2. That way all these guys link to it and they don't link to a bell from another village. It's kind of important that you keep this thing here. Now we can also go ahead and remove the platform that is underneath all the beds. Do not break any of the beds. Be very careful about that. And now we're going to go ahead and build up the lower kill chamber. So make 2 stacks of signs right on top of that one right there. And then we need to double stack signs out in this direction. Sign right there, sign above it, sign on the side of this one and above there, signs above these 2 as well. And then do the same thing on this side. So double signs out, signs above that one, signs on the side of that, and a sign above that, sign right there, and a sign above that one. Anyway, the reason why we're building this in such a weird way is because we're going to have a lava source right in there, of course, and right in there. And that means that we can drop the items from the upper kill chamber right down between them into our item collection. Now go ahead and fill in this platform again, right above all of these beds, and remove these 2 blocks right here for a clear line down to the item collection. For the upper kill chamber, we're going to go ahead and place in 2 signs right here, and then stack up signs to this layer. And then we simply want to stack out signs going 3 blocks in that direction and 3 blocks in this direction. We're going to be putting lava right on top of this thing, so we need to make sure that we have enough signs. That way the lava doesn't flow down into our water streams. So go ahead and basically make a little diamond shape on both sides of this pile of signs. Basically, you need a lot of signs everywhere to contain that lava. That should be enough right there. We can go ahead and test that by placing in a lava source. Remove that block and it should flow perfectly to the edges without dropping down, as you can see. Placing in all the water sources is incredibly easy for this farm, and it's the same for the top layer and the bottom layer as well. So the first thing that you want to do is place in an extra sign right there. That way you just have 2 lined up with the center of the chunk. You're going to want yourself an infinite water source because we need water sources all the way across the top edge of this farm, all the way along all of this diagonal, all the way along this edge, inside of all of these diagonals right here, and then all the way along the edge of that wall as well. Skip the inner 2 blocks right here, and then just place in water sources going all the way across until you get to these 2 spots, and that is most of the platform done. We need to place in 2 more water sources right here at this level, lined up with the center of the chunk just to get water on those 2 blocks. And then we need to flood this side on both sides. So line yourself up with those 2 center blocks, and we simply need 8 temporary blocks in these locations right here. That'll force the water to flood further out and push all the items and mobs directly into the kill chamber. So then you just got to do that for the other side as well. So 2 blocks there, 2 blocks there, 2 there, another 2 there, and then that floods the center. Remove your temporary blocks and your water is now completely installed, and you need to do that exact same process on the lower floor as well. And congratulations, your first iron farm is now completely done, and as you can see, we actually have an iron golem spawning all the way out here. However, we are not done yet. We now need to start stacking these things, which is incredibly easy. All you do is the entire village process again. So you would start off, for example, out here on this platform, build up yourself another portal, get your 3 villagers out here at nighttime, figure out the leader of the village, move them in towards the center, keep the leader right here, move the other 2 into the staircase, get them in here, get all the other villagers in, and it's the exact same process. However, keep in mind, you have to keep the leaders of the village alive and at the crossroads for every individual farm. Once you've built up all 4 farms and you have all the villagers in place, then we can start dealing with the leaders of the village. So best of luck, rewatch this video as needed, get all of the villagers in here, and hopefully it goes very smoothly for you. And this is what it should look like once all 4 of your iron farms are done and you have all of the villagers in place. There is but one final thing to do, and that is to murder the leaders of the village. So we can't simply walk them into the village like we have previously, because then villages would combine, and there's a whole load of issues there with the actual villages overlapping with one another. However, if we simply go ahead and break the workstation, and then break the bell, and then kill the villager, that is going to make one of these villagers over here in this pod the leader of the village. Whichever bed they're linked to will become the center of the village, and congratulations, your entire village is now within one area. So we can go ahead and do that for this guy over here. Break the workstation first, break the bed, kill the leader, and now one of these guys over here is going to become the leader of the village, and bam, we now have 2 villages right next to each other. You can see that we got the iron golem spawning on the platforms, which is beautiful. And then you basically just rinse and repeat this for all 4 of your leaders of the village. If you have any random miscellaneous iron golems walking around the outside areas, just go ahead and kill them with a lava bucket. It won't be a big deal. And there you go. That is basically all there is to it. You officially have 4 villages within one area, spawning you 350 iron ingots per hour each, and it's great. As one last optional thing that you can do, you can set up an auto dropper system at the bottom of the outputs, going into a little bit of an ice water stream, and then combine all of the water streams from all 4 of your farms into one chest. But as you guys know, I always leave storage up to you because storage is extremely subjective and you never know what you're gonna want. Everybody wants storage a little bit differently, so you can set that up however you want. But as you can see, these have only been running for a couple of minutes. We already got 3 stacks of iron. It's crazy. If you've made it this far in today's video, thank you so very much for watching. I do greatly appreciate your support on the channel. I hope that you have enjoyed today's video and learned a thing or two. There's going to be more resources about all of this villager linking stuff down in the description. Of course, videos from Pico Nico, the world download, the materials list, and all of that good stuff. If you have any questions, comments, and concerns, then of course let us know in the comment section down below. We're always trying to help you guys out as best as we possibly can. And again, if you do want to see that 12 stacked iron farm, leave a like on the video. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that on the channel as well. And otherwise, thank you so very much for watching. I'll see you down in the comment section and in the next one. And then there was silence.